What is up, you Walking Dead fans? Hello, I am Doug, and I am a Walking Dead fan even into this point, even though I'm slightly disappointed in some of these seasons as of late. And I am this guy who likes to do TV show reviews in 7 minutes or less, episode remarks here and there, which aren't necessarily in 7 minutes or less. Keep that in mind. And I do recaps. And here I'm going to talk about the mid premiere of Walking Dead Season 8. Now, let's get a few things out of the way here right now. It's been an interesting ride throughout this runtime with Season 8, and from Season 7, I have been highly disappointed in the show thus far. Doesn't stop me from wanting to watch it, but it's definitely one of those things where I'm like, I'll take what I can get. I will love what I see, and I will also be critical. And sometimes it's hard for me to mention some of the things that are critical for me. But here, we're going to do that. We're actually going to do that here. So if you're with me on this, there's going to be spoilers. There's definitely going to be a long talking point here about the little individual things. I'm going to talk about what I loved. I'm going to talk about what I liked. And we're going to talk about some of the nitpicks that I had, especially for this episode. So let's jump into this. First things first. I have actually quite enjoyed the beginning half of this season. It was more action packed, more action filled. It showed the action that I feel like we should have seen back in season 7. Only for some, I believe, this is a little too late. The writing has gotten a little stale. The things that have happened should have happened a long time ago. And after 16 episodes of season 7 with not much happening, but nothing but slow burn character development and growth, oh my god, season 8 couldn't be more of a welcome sight. This is more action driven. Things are a little bit at stake, not a little bit, a whole lot. And I've rather enjoyed that. Now, I can understand that there's a lot of backpedaling and a lot of criticisms and stuff like that where it's like, yeah, they're not treating the characters right. The writing is terrible. I get it. Trust me. I see it, I know it, and I feel it. Sometimes I'm like, why do I feel like some of these characters are talking down to us like we're not following or we don't get it? I also know that the ratings are kind of at an all-time low since back in season 2. Maybe it'll pick up, but I doubt it because Walking Dead has made too many curves and turns that talk down to the audience in some regards, and sometimes you can't win back the audience, and that's the problem here. Nevertheless, my justification's out of the way. Let's jump into the episode. Here's what I loved. I really loved Morgan. Morgan in this episode was actually kind of like the second center point to all of this, and what his character arc was going through was kind of the justification as to why he wanted to kill this last guy who was kind of like one figurehead of many under Negan. And yeah, he was kind of like some sort of nobody. And let me tell you, some of the writing on that was not great because they had to keep reminding us on who they are to one another. The only person who really kept things, focused was Ezekiel. And of course, he's my favorite character, that and Negan. But one of the things that I really enjoyed was Morgan's humanity, and where he decided to start killing people was back in season 7. And here it was just full on savage. And he was like, wow, Morgan, you really got off the deep end. And luckily it works for the story right now. So here's hoping you don't lose that streak. Well, here he almost lost it because he kind of hesitated to kill that nearest figurehead that I'm going to kill him because I need to. And you have Ezekiel going, no, you don't need to kill him. He gets it. He's going to see what's happening here. And ultimately he doesn't, and some other kid does. Okay, I get it. I like it. And sure enough, I love Morgan enough to say that this is actually a good step forward. If you don't agree, I understand. But to where I'm at and where I see it, it kind of works for what I saw and what I see. And now for the pièce de résistance of what I love, Carl. See, now with Carl, it's a very interesting story because I never really related to him in any factor. His love life was kind of non existent, and when they did show it, I just didn't care. When he was a boy, you realize that he had to grow up faster than anyone else. And so he didn't really have much of a life growing up except for killing and surviving with his father and getting unfocused and focused um, ideals and morals and ideas that he needed to abide by. And now that he is finally kind of in his own adulthood, even at like the age of what, 16, I think, you realize that Carl has definitely had his own growth in the arc that was given to him. And it was almost poetic to see this off. It never upset me that he was being killed off in this episode. And if anything, I think it's highly appropriate because he did have to grow up too fast. And this is kind of the point where at 16, he's pretty much that theory that we all had, like Old Man Carl. He was pretty much like Old Man Carl already. He had a lot of ideals. He had his morals. He stuck to them. He even emphasized them everywhere in this episode to help Rick and Michonne and the person that he saved to see a better light in this tragedy. And that was really good. It's the scene where they finally take him to the church. Rick and Michonne, they finally take him to the church and they actually have their one-on-one time. It's not so public anymore. It's personal and it's a lot more in depth. That's what I liked. I wasn't feeling the gradual decline of Carl so much up until that scene. I wasn't feeling the emotion for it because I felt like maybe this was going to drag out too long. And of course, if there's one thing that Walking Dead does really do well, and trust me when I say everything that I say could be up for scrutiny, this is the part where I feel like Walking Dead has its biggest strength, and that is center-focused character developing episodes, and that is what they do well. They focus their characters, especially when they're about to die. They did that really well with Tyrese's character, and I think they did this really well here too. This is all still part about what I love. Carl being sent off was a proper farewell. In fact, if anything, it's probably the best farewell we can get, especially for him, because he's planting a lot of ideas in other people's heads, helping them see a better limelight, as I just said a couple of minutes ago. And I really dug that. I really liked that. Dug it. But the biggest thing is finally saying goodbye. And those last moments when he said it to Michonne and when he said it to Rick, that's where I started going, yeah, now I'm feeling it. Okay, you're doing a good job. I'm not crying, you're crying. But in the end, that's actually kind of where the love for this episode kind of stops. What I liked was overall how everything kind of played out, though that's where we're going to come into the small nitpicks. The pacing and the editing kind of was like, what are you doing? Are you joking right now? Because you kept me into a moment and then you took me out of it. And that really goes down between two scenes. And that's with Morgan and Carl. Morgan is tracking down that figurehead that I was telling you about. And then Carl is going on his monologues about something that happened back in one of the seasons. And it kind of cuts back and forth in between moments that I don't think they should have done. I think that they should have stuck with Carl's monologue and kept it going until it finally closed. And then we go into Morgan and what's going on. In fact, if anything, I think they should have just went with Morgan, wrapped that up because it wasn't going to be very long. And then we get to Carl. And I felt like maybe that could have flowed a lot better. But then again, I'm sure they saw a better way to do it. And so they intercut between them. But they did it rather awkwardly. I didn't like how Carl went through this quick little monologue about killing this one kid. And I think this was back in season 3 when this happened and how Carl had some moral conflictions about doing so. And then we just cut to suddenly Morgan and finding the figurehead guy. And I was like, that didn't really work for me. I didn't like that. All in all, that was the biggest gripe that I really had. And the dialogue, oh god, the dialogue really needs to focus up and be a lot more crisper and definitely a lot more intense because, again, I really feel like these guys are just talking down to us because they're conveying this thing they already know, but they know they got to convey it to us. And it's like, can you just stop? Just stop. This is not how people talk. Please. Focus up. You're better than this. I love season 1 and season 5 and I love the first episode of season 7 actually, even though that was a hellish nightmare. It was a well done hellish nightmare, and yet they just dropped the ball so many times. And here it's like that the dialogue just lingers. Don't do that. Stop. You guys are better than this. But all in all, this was a fine episode. It really was. I rather enjoyed what they did here. They gave Carl a proper send off, especially for Chandler Riggs, who I believe is leaving for other purposes. I don't think it's for any other job opportunity. I think he's going for college. I'm not sure. You can correct me if you want. I mean, just let me know down below. But in this case, though, I think this was proper. I think this was nice. I know a lot of people are upset about this. Don't worry, I'm not completely oblivious to the comments and the ways that other people see otherwise. If you think otherwise and don't like the way they did this, or even with, like my opinion, let me know down below. I'd love to talk to you about it because I understand that, Walking Dead is not exactly the same show it once was. And I'm just that guy that holds on to hope even for the last segment, and I stick with it. I'm kind of That's how dedicated I am. I'm not a huge fanboy, even though I've kind of posed off as one, but I take what I can get and I leave the rest. So, in any case, like I said, I'd love to talk to you guys. Please let me know down below any of the information that I've given you and talked to you about. Let's chat it up. I'd love to interact with you. And if you like what you've seen here and you would like to see more, keep in mind on my channel, I do TV show reviews in 7 minutes or less, as I said beforehand. Um, Episode reviews are not in 7 minutes or less, but recaps are, and I might do them in parts. I do movie reviews, which break down the trailer to film aspects. Basically, I take a few scenes from the trailer, talk about it, how did it hold up into the film. And then universe reviews, which I take a series of movies or TV shows and the ones that are in between, and I talk about them throughout their arcs. So, if you like what you've seen here, please subscribe, like, and share, and I will definitely talk to you guys and get you more videos in the future.